Good afternoon. Big Wagh tier list video. Let's do it. So first, let's define our terms. So S tier is models that are auto-include in every single list. It doesn't really matter what list you're making. You're going to kind of start by making this. A good example would be a Wagh Prophet. A Wagh Prophet is going to see every single Big Wagh list. You're going to see at least one Wagh Prophet. Last season, you were seeing two. Pretty much auto-include, like we need them, right? We want to we want to generate those Wagh points. We're going to see them all the time. A tier is going to be units that we see almost all the time and are very, very good and are included in almost every list. A good example would be Brutes. I rarely see any Big Wagh lists without at least some Brutes. They are solid all around, good, great, fantastic. B tier is going to be situational. It's going to be things that are not always good, but in the right matchups, in the right meta, in the local meta, your local gaming store, are going to be good. So this would be something like a Murknob. I'm not even sure if Murknob would be a B tier because we're so hungry for our hero slots, but I think, but you kind of get my point. And then F tier is units that we never play, that are counter synergistic to the army, that like just are bad and not good. So Kragnos is a good one for this. He just doesn't really fit with what the army's trying to do at all, and we never ever see him. This god of destruction in the biggest of Waghs is totally lacking, unfortunately. Okay, cool. So carrying on. So let's start with this column here. So Maniac Weird Knobs. Maniac Weird Knobs, I actually think are B tier. I think Maniac Weird Knobs are B tier. I think that a Maniac Weird Knob can actually have a place. He's mounted and he's a locus, so he is still the only trick that we have for Blizzard, because you can no longer teleport into a Blizzard, but you can fasten into a Blizzard. So he's got Blizzard on his stick. Like, I'm not wrong there, right? Like, it's only if you teleport that you can't use Blizzard, but if you move in the hero phase, you can still use Blizzard, right? Let me know in the comments below if I'm off on this. So he's not going to be good on every list. He's not fantastic, but this season he can be kind of good. And if your list would like more locusts, you can include him. Same thing with Wardog. Wardog is another locust, another very cheap caster. So that has value this season. So I'd say that he is situationally good. You can definitely play him and see him in some lists, and that's pretty cool. Play him while they're hot. Big Stabbas. I think Big Stabbas are actually F tier now. You'll notice here that I didn't include all of the Bone Splitters, because most of the Bone Splitters are going to be F tier. Like what, 80%, 90% of the Bone Splitters army is going to be F tier. The only things I decided to include are things that are not going to be F tier and things that used to be not F tier. But unfortunately for Big Stabbas, I think that Ragers have replaced them. I think for the same point cost, for 100 point cost, you're getting, more wounds, you're getting more damage output. I think that Big Stabbas have just been replaced by Ragers. And Ragers, let's do Ragers right now, are A tier. Ragers are very, very good and very strong, right? Like a reinforced unit of them. For 100 points, they have a very high damage output. If I remember correctly, let's see if I'm not even sure if you can see this here. Ragers were putting out, when I was sort of doing some math, the best ones were dealing like quite high damage per point. Right, quite high damage per point. 0.07 is the highest. Yeah, the highest points, more damage per point. So, oops, that's why they're A tier. Because they're real good. Gobsprak S tier. I don't think you see any lists without Gobsprak now. We've talked about him a lot. Everyone knows he's fantastic. Vulture Boss, unfortunately, I think is sitting at an F tier right now. The problem with Vulture Boss, and I talked about this in my Curl Boys video, is that he's not Gobsprak. Right? So the fact that he's not Gobsprak means that he's kind of unplayable, because for more points, he could just be a Gobsprak. So, unfortunately, because ever since I started playing Cruel Boys, I've always loved the Kill Boss and Corpse Rupa Vulture. Never get a chance to play him. Snatch Boss will put an A tier. Everyone knows why. He's a very slappy monster. He's not S tier. I don't think you'll include him in every single army, but he's very, very good. And you know what? I think I'm just gonna put Sludge Raker, because I also believe that Swamp Boss Scumdrek is gonna be in the same exact position. Break a Boss, another A tier unit. Very, very, very good, very strong. If you have a good reason for him to be in there, I think, like, if the points work out, if you're gonna fasten him, if you're gonna super sneaky him, very, very good. Gnashtooth, same deal. A tier unit. That 3-up save is really important. I've seen him be played as a general with Amulet of Destiny. Really, really good. Everyone knows Gnashtooth is good. Gnashtooth is also really good for battle tactics as well. Right? He's pretty good at getting led into the Maelstrom. And he's also good at Surround and Destroy. He can be quite helpful. Kill a Boss on foot, F tier. Everyone knows why. We don't have to talk about it. Swamp Kala Shaman. Oh, man. Oops, there's stuff over here, too. Is Swamp Kala Shaman S tier? No. Swamp Kala Shaman A tier this season? Probably. I think a Swamp Kala Shaman's probably going to sit at A tier this season. He is a Locust. Lore of the Swamp is really powerful and really strong. So that goes a long way. Yeah, not really all that much more to say. I think this season we'll probably see a lot more Bolt Boys. So Swamp Kala Shaman can have that slot. Manak Takan on F tier. Gut Rippas. I don't know if Gut Rippas and Big Wah even make it to B tier. I don't know if Gut Rippas even make it to B tier in Big Wah. Or Gut Rippas F tier. I don't want to say that Gut Rippas are F tier because I see people play them. I see people play them, and I see, like, when other people think different things than me, when enough people think different things than I do, I know that I'm not correct. I know that I'm not 100% correct. Having an opinion in a game like this where there's a lot of variables, I'm not explaining myself very well. A Wurgog Prophet is always good. Everyone agrees. A Wurgog Prophet is fantastic. Everyone agrees. The fact that I also think that Wurgog Prophet is very good makes it like I'm very confident that Wurgog Prophet is very good. And if someone out there says that Wurgog is F tier, I'm very confident to say, like, no, he's not. However, with something like Gut Rippas, the more disagreement there is in the community, the less that I'm sure on my correctness. That's kind of an obvious thing, right? But if lots of people disagree with you, you might be right. And the fact that, like, you know, the Gut Rippas might be really bad, but they're probably not as bad as you think they are. Anyway, I don't know. So Gut Rippas B tier. Yeah, fine. Leave him at B tier. Hobgrots. Oh man, because in Cruel Boys, Hobgrots I think are A tier, but I don't think they're A tier in Big Wah. I'll put them at B tier. I think that Hobgrots are going to be good if you have a lot of different, like, you need some objective grabbers for 80 points. But I don't know what that even looks like right now, or what armies would we need that. Our Bolt Boys are going to be A tier because just how good and strong they are, right? They do a really good job at their role, which is just obliterating things. Not going to be a lot of S tier stuff, I guess. Hey, Marshcrawler F tier. Moving on. Killbow B tier. Good against, you know, if there's lots of big monsters in your meta. If there's lots of Gargant players where you are, then yeah, then play. Then play them. Oh, that's why they did that. Okay. Gordrak, F tier. I think I've never seen it. I've never seen a Gordrak in Big Wah, especially now. The Mega Boss on Makrusha used to be, I would say, S tier, and now I actually think he got bumped down to a B tier. The reason is, like with the point changes to Ard Boys and with our point change and with these new units and everything, I don't know how you fit a Maw Crusher into a list anymore. The only time I think you fit a Maw Crusher into a list is if you really need that big giant monster, but that would be like a situational advantage. So I think that he is now actually a B tier. Womp womp. Mega Boss, however, I would say is S tier. I think that every single Big Wah list should run at least one Mega Boss on foot. For 140 points, being able to issue Mighty Destroyers twice, being able to issue All-Out Defense twice, the fact that he can still carry Destroyer and be that missile that you need him to be, his fight on death, everything about him, still really good, still really strong. You should include at least some form of Mega Boss in all of your lists, just because of how useful it is. That double command is so good, especially considering that we have Mighty Destroyers as one of our commands. Very, very strong. War Enchanters, again, are also going to be S tier because they generate Wah points for us. And anything that generates Wah points is going to be an auto-include in a Big Wah list. Right? Right? Weird Knob Shaman, I would say that a Weird Knob Shaman is S tier? No, I think he's A tier. He's a unit that I auto-include in every one of my lists, but I don't think that he is necessarily an auto-include in every Big Wah list, but I do think that he's at least an A tier. He's very, very good. Same thing with Ard Boys. So far, I think I've seen Ard Boys in every Big Wah list. Are they S tier in Big Wah? See, in Iron Jaws, I put them at A tier. But are they S tier in Big Wah? Are they an auto-include? I think they are. I think Ard Boys are auto-included in every Big Wah list now. At least one unit. They're such a good anvil. They're such a good anvil. Having them, having that anvil in every list is so good. I think they're probably S tier. Yeah. Iron Skulls. I don't know, are they F tier? Do you ever... I don't think you ever take them. Same thing with Morgoth's Crushes. I think that they're both F tier. I don't think you ever take them. For 80... So the whole... Here's why. So they're both 80 points. And one of them has 3 bodies. One of them has 4 bodies. Hobgrots have 10 bodies. So when you want to include one of those 3 units in your list, the reason that you'll want them is because they're going to act as a bunch of feet on objectives. So then you take the Hobgrots every time, I think. Right? Like when you're writing your list and you're like, well, I have 80 points. What do I want to put there? If your answer is feet on the ground, it's Hobgrots every time. If the answer is an endless spell, well, if the answer is more ranged, well, it's a kill bow, right? Like it's never going to be Iron Skulls or Morgoths. It's never going to be those. D tier for kill bow? Probably. Or Gorgruntas. Maybe still S tier? Maybe still S tier, but actually, I'm thinking A tier. I'm thinking A tier. In my previous Big Wah tier list video, I would have put the Gorgruntas as S tier. I would have said that every single unit or every single Big Wah list should include at least one unit of Gorgruntas. But now I think that you could instead include a Maw Grunta Gouger. I think I'm playing Big Wah in a league in my town or whatever, and I'm running one Gouger for 80 points. The reason is because he sticks around longer. He's more defensive in Tar Pity than Gorgruntas, right? He's on a 4-up save just like the Gruntas. He's on 12 wounds instead of 15 wounds, but he doesn't degrade. So you're able to heal him with Fix and Beat and sort of keep him as a Tar Pity unit. He also has this thing where he can like run and maybe 1 in 3 times then charge. So that can be kind of scary. He's a monster, so he counts for 5 on objectives. Gorgruntas count for 6, but as soon as they lose a model, then they go down to 4. The Gorgrunta Gouger is able to deal more damage than Gorgruntas when there's only 1 wound left. So the Gouger's able to fight better at lower hit points than the Gore Gruntas. So I think that he'll stand there and be more of an obstacle over which your opponent is going to have to struggle. So I think that's why. He also stomps and roars and has the utility of a monster. So in the list now, you know, we have Gobsprak, but we used to have a Maw Crusher, and now we don't. So filling it, having another monster that actually wants to get in the fight, because Gobsprak don't want to get in the fight, right? So having a monster that does want to get in the fight, that can smash to rubble in the front line, that can roar your opponent, like those things have value. And then his monstrous action where he's able to jump over, you're probably never going to want that or use that. It's never going to come up. But no, sorry, that's for Hack and Crew. So Hack and Crew I think is B tier for the reason I just said. He has a monstrous action. You're probably not going to take it. But if you decide that you need access to that, then it's there, right? If you decide that, hey, for whatever reason in my local meta, there's a bunch of lists that have, like OBR, for example, where they have these huge blocks that are really a pain in the butt. Well, guess what? You can take Rabble Rouser, you can run Hack and Crew at him, you can jump into his backline, you can get him that way. I don't know, maybe F tier for Hack and Crew, but I'll leave him at B tier for now. Because Tusk Boss is going into F tier. Unlocking Gougers as battle line in Big Wah is probably the best that you'll get for Gougers being battle line outside of the Army of Renown, but the Army of Renown is bad. So it's not like we're ever going to need that, right? It's not like it's... So, I don't know. Is he just straight up F tier? Is he straight up F tier? Are you never going to take him? I don't know. I don't think so. Ardboy Boss in Big Wah, I think, is a B tier. I don't know when you'd want to take him in Big Wah. If you're running like a couple of reinforced units, I think maybe... Yeah, you could go for that. You could go for like a really heavy Ardboy list and then run an Ardboy Boss. But again, you'd have to be setting it up in such a way where that is what you're playing. And he's also a hero, which means it's really tricky because our hero slots are so valuable. They're so valuable. Look at all of the heroes that we want to take in Big Wah. What else? Yeah, I mean, a Wurgog Prophet, War Chanter, Swamp Kala Shaman, Megaboss, Weird Knob Shaman, and let's not forget Gobsprak, right? Like, there's so many heroes that we want to take in Big Wah. It's really hard to justify bringing heroes that aren't, like, doing as much. Snatch Boss is another hero, right, that we'll want to take. And so down here, it's like, you know, Zogrock? Like, how... Zogrock makes it way down this list. I'd say that every one of these, you know, a Wurgog Prophet, a War Chanter, a Swamp Kala Shaman, a Mega Boss, a Weird Knob Shaman, Gobsprak, and Snatcher Boss are all going to be higher in priority than an Ardboy Boss and Zogrock. They're all going to be higher in priority than an Ardboy Boss and Zogrock. But I could see them both being B tier because if you're building your list a certain way and if you're trying to attack a meta in a certain way, I could see them being good. I could see them being that last slot, but unlikely. And then Rekkas are F tier. The reason that F is a Rek tier are the reason that Rekkas are F tier is because Rages are better. They're better in every situation. Rages are 100% better 100% of the time. So don't take Rekkas. Don't take Rekkas. Just take Ragers. Even when Rekkas line up and you're going up against a horde and that ward is going to be really helpful, Rages are still better because they're 25 points cheaper and they're going to deal more damage. So you're going to run in charge, you're going to hit, you're going to have +1/+1 hopefully from your Big Wah stuff. You can throw more buffs on them, like +1 damage or whatever, and the Rages are going to hit harder every time. And isn't that better? Isn't just deleting more of your opponent's models off the table better than having a 5-up ward, especially if you have a 5-up save? I don't know. Rekkas, I think, are F tier, unfortunately. Okay, so did I miss anything? I don't think I did. If I did, please let me know in the comments below. And join the Discord, because if you've already liked, subscribed, and WAD, well, that's obviously going to be the next thing. Come join the conversation. Like, subscribe, WAD.